Okay, hey on Acidity Friday. I hope you're doing good. I'm back with more work Chronicle, of course. So I get to work today. My doctor emailed me the updated letter where I was told to take out the information about me doing well. Sends it and says I was seen on this day and I can return to work on this day and I have been seen for continued care and treatment. HR calls me at 1 o'clock and says, I need you to come to my office. I'm like, why? You know, I'm kind of particular. You can't call me into a blind meeting. So she reluctantly said, well, I just want to talk about what we talked about yesterday. I'm like, okay, we could talk over the phone. I'm like, okay. I said, what about? She was like, well, the department head of HR wants to talk to you now. This is not her supervisor, but over her supervisor. Her supervisor is the one I was referring to in the prior video. So I'm thinking, okay. She went on to say, well, the letter that you have now is still not worded right. It has to say chronic condition. And I'm thinking, wait a minute. Yesterday you said it said I was too well and that needed to be removed. And prior to this, to be honest, I don't recall, and I may be wrong, but I don't think I am, the letter saying it was for chronic care and condition. It was for ongoing medical treatment or continued care of medical treatment or something to the nature that I get my physicians to write. And I said, well, I gave you my son. She was like, well, yeah, his is worded correctly. It says chronic condition. I'm thinking, certainly you ain't look at that as an example because they copied that as well. But prior to this, I don't think any of my letters actually said, it said continuation of medical treatment or something of that nature. So I'm thinking, okay, I hear what you're saying and I've read the handbook. Now, they don't know. I read my stuff. I read the handbook. I literally read the handbook. They gave it to us. They gave it to us to read and sign that we have read it. I read the handbook, particularly the part about leave and a few other parts. So I'm thinking, I don't see where it says specifically in here the doctor has to write chronic medical condition. It just says it has to be a doctor certification, which means medical doctor, whatever doctor they are, saying that I'm getting continued treatment for what the book calls a major medical condition. But it doesn't say those words, major medical or chronic medical condition, have to be in this letter. Moreover, the fact that it's continued care and treatment explains and displays that it's a severe condition. So the department head gets on the phone, who's an attorney, and she comes in about the middle of our conversation. And I guess she was coming thinking, I was going to be there by the time she got there. I wasn't coming because you could talk to me over the phone and I didn't feel like it was good to call me into a blind meeting just sporadically about what was going on so she could explain to me what I already read, which I can completely read verbatim what it is. And literally, technically, it does not say the doctors have to put chronic medical leave on their letters. So the department head from HR comes and she explains, and I said, I hate to cut you off, ma'am. I said, but I understand everything that you're saying, and I understand what this lady is saying. I said, but that is not in the handbook. And I'm thinking, now yesterday, you told me I had to take this first sentence out saying I was good and that it was ongoing treatment. Now it's got to say chronic medical, blah, blah, tweet, tweet. And I said, you know what? I said, tell me what you want me to say and show me what you're saying where it says it has to be what you're saying in the handbook. Now, she sends me the exact same part of the handbook I had read. She sends me 3 pages of the lead. And I responded back before I left and said, okay, are you talking about this section? I said, it doesn't specifically say the doctor has to document the condition or that it's a chronic condition. It just says the doctor has to write a letter saying that I'm getting continued treatment from them. Now, I don't know if she replied back or not, but I'm thinking, y'all playing with me. So I did contact my medical provider about a change. And I'm thinking, this is just too much. This is beyond me. And so the department head goes on to say, well, we have to have these letters in because we might be audited and, we have to justify you using medical leave. I get that. But since I've been at this job, I developed hypertension and a chronic allergy problem that I've also had to go to a specialist for. And for the past few years, my medical treatment is being paid by my husband's medical insurance, not even at this job. But aside from that, it is just unbelievable the things that these people, again, come up with. I don't have time to lie and make up stuff. And, when I spoke to the woman originally, when I took her the excuses, she was like, I said, this is a lot to have to go to the doctor. Because my husband is a government employee, but he's a federal. They just say, I'm not coming to work. I'm not feeling well. They don't have to say why, what's going on. Nothing, whether it's chronic or not. And they can instantly use medical leave with no question. Not my job. But at the same time, I understand the concept of keeping people honest, but also, who has time? And I'm not saying that it doesn't exist, because there are people who do know physicians and nurses that can make up a doctor's excuse for them. So having to get somebody to get an excuse and a letter is still not making them honest, because if they know a medical professional who can write a letter for them and bring it to you like they've been off work, that's still being dishonest. And you might say, well, you can get the medical information proof. No, you can't, because they don't have to release a person's medical records to their job. That's point blank period, but that's another story. But at the same time, most people don't know professionals that can just make up a letter for you, write a letter for you. And I ain't saying people don't make fake letters, but it's ridiculous. So every time I go to my regular doctor, I have to have an excuse and the letter. I think the excuse should be sufficient, especially if you got that letter on file. But every time I submit it, I have to submit the same letter and a new doctor's excuse with a new date on there that I went for treatment. And, and I'm like, this is ridiculous. And she was, the middle lady was trying to explain. She's like, well, it needs to say, whether it's, biannually, whatever. And I was like, well, that's not true either. I said, because a lot of times I go to the doctor to get a shot for something, and it may not be 3 months or 6 months. It might be next week, and the lady of the department head corrected that and straightened it up. But I'm like, she's like, it doesn't have to say a specific time. It just has to say chronic medical leave. And I'm thinking, if I have a letter from a doctor that is chronic, that I have to go to them continually. And I said, moreover, the part of the handbook they're talking about does not say what specifically has to be written out or said on the letter. It does not say the doctor must say it this way, in that way, and put this word in there. So they're making up things. You're making it up. And by law, if that's not specifically stated in that handbook, what do you have? Just ridiculous. So I just wanted to follow up with y'all, and I will keep you posted on this medical work chronicle debacle, because this is some foolishness. And you might say, oh, well, that's petty. No, I'm just like, you want to be by the book. I understand that's great, but let's go by the book. The book doesn't say that the doctor has to put anything specifically on his letter other than ongoing treatment, which is what I've always said had put on my letters. I don't remember this chronic illness condition stuff, whatever. But the point is, if it says ongoing treatment, it's something severe. So have with it what you may, but these people, they try to test me. I'm like, well, you're not calling me into a blind meeting. Because this conversation go downhill. They were polite, don't get me wrong, but I'm thinking, I hear what you're saying, but what you're saying don't make sense, because I have sense too. I'm not a lawyer, but I can read. And in law, if this is what you wanted to say, it's going to have to say, this is what you have to have it say. Now, let's just go off of that. I mean, it's nonsense. But anyway, y'all have a good night. I'll be on here. I think I'm going to go live in a few minutes. But anyway, y'all have a good evening, good weekend. Bye.